All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Junk Removal Made Simple, brought to you by the authority on junk removal, Junk Removal Authority. You can check us out at junkremovalauthority.com, or you can shorten it to junkra.com, or call us at 919-617-1975. Got great deals and complete business packages for those of you that are ready to get in business. You want to get in business, you want to do it right, you want to commit, you want to blow up. We have full business packages that keep you from having to pay an ongoing royalty to a franchise for long term. We get you up and running. You have the same great support, same great knowledge, same great structure, and a business package without having to handcuff yourself to that franchise long term. And of course, we also bring you that one-of-a-kind, never before done pay-per-job program. Not pay-per-lead, pay-per-job. It appears on your calendar. You go and do the work. Today, I want to further expand on what we were talking about in our previous video we did on gross margins versus net margins. We're going to talk about gross expenses today, gross expense percentage today. A lot of people, when they heard us talking about junk doctors, which is our junk removal company, brought in 15%, made 15%. They were thinking gross margins. I'm talking net margins. So net margins is after everything's paid. After my vehicle's paid, Christian's vehicle's been paid for. We have nice vehicles. It's a high payment. We got an airplane that it's paid for. We have call center reps that they're paid. We've got, and then the most importantly, our salaries. You have my salary, Christian's salary, any other management salary. Everybody has already been paid. All expenses are paid. It's about a 15% margin. But actually, we're at about 40%. Or over about almost 45% gross margin. So what are our gross expenses? Gross expenses, again, just to recap this past video, are any expense directly related to the cost of bringing a service or completing a junk removal service. So let's get into and talk about what those expenses normally are. So again, we are talking about gross expenses, which is a pretty daggone relative name or relevant name for expenses. All expenses are gross, but you got to do them to be in business. So, fuel. Obviously, to get to a job, you're going to have fuel expense. Typically, that is 5 to 7% of the cost of the job. So if you look at your profit and loss statement at the end of the month, you're generally going to see fuel percentage be somewhere between 5 to 7%. Your labor, now listen, labor, even if you were on the truck, I'm counting paying you in this figure. So if you were on the truck, your business profit, or excuse me, if you're on the truck, I'm counting, you should be paying yourself at least an hourly rate for the work you do on the truck. A junk removal company can generally afford it. Especially after you've been in business a month or two. This is going to be about 20%, again, of your job income. So, for example, let's just keep it simple. Let's say you do a $300 job. You're going to have somewhere around $60 in labor cost for that $300 job. And now, obviously, this is on averages. So you base this on your average job cost. Because if you go and you do a $150 job, well, I mean, as you can see, that's just going to play out the same. If you go and do a $150 job, you're probably going to have about $30 in labor. That includes drive time to the job, drive time leaving the job to go to the landfill, donation center, recycling center, whatever. And that includes the time it actually takes you to unload that stuff. You're at about 20% right there. Anybody, and I mean anybody, that tells you they are making 95% margins in junk removal is full of a bunch of BS. It's impossible, because right there, he's not counting paying himself. It's 20%. Now, if he goes off and does it on his own, it still doesn't matter. He's at minimum 10%. So anybody telling you they're making 95% knows absolutely nothing about what they're talking about. If you're smart, you would quit listening to what they have to say, because they're full of crap. Labor. So we were at the 20% there. Now, labor. This is just on the truck guys. This is just truck guys. This is not call center reps or anybody else. Any other people that you need. You need somebody to answer the phone, obviously, to book the job, but it does not include that. This is just completing that service. All right, so disposal fees. This can vary a little bit by location. Some areas are more expensive. What really kills you in junk removal is areas where you have minimum charges. Denver, we've got one of our partners is in Denver. Denver has a minimum charge of like $82 or something like that. So he has to do a lot better job. It's 82 a ton, he has a 1 ton minimum. He's got to do a lot better job of recycling, donating, and getting as full of a truckload as possible than somebody that has lower fees. The other thing he's done that we've recommended is actually to go with a larger truck size. We have smaller trucks and it works for us in most of our markets, or in all of our markets that we're in. But when you have a real big minimum, you need a larger size truck. Disposable fees are generally going to be 8 to 11% of gross income, of your gross income of your job cost. Automobile expense. This is a gross expense. Some people will leave this out. If that truck is rolling down the road, you've got wear and tear on the transmission that's happening. You've got brake repairs, brake issues, you're wearing out your brakes. You've got tires that are going to need to be replaced. You've got some issues that are happening on that truck. Every mile you roll, you're 1 mile closer to having an automobile repair. You must always account for this when you're setting your prices. And if you're looking at your profit and loss statement and you have a month or 2 or 3, maybe you have a full quarter without having to do an automobile repair, it's coming. It's coming on down the line. You need to make sure you always factor in your auto expense. It's typically going to be about 3% of your gross income. This, we found to actually be pretty constant on if you have a brand new truck, you're going to have a payment. You're going to have a $900,000 a month payment. 900 or 1,000, not 900,000. 900 or 1,000 a month payment per vehicle. On automobile expense for a vehicle that's used, if it's getting up in mileage, you're going to be averaging over the course of time about that amount. Now, if you have a vehicle that's right in the middle, it's at that 150,000 mile range, and you're no longer making payments on it, you're going to get away with a little bit better than this. But eventually, it's going to average out to about 3%. A $5,000 transmission or a $7,000 engine repair is just around the corner. Credit card fees. Credit card fees are going to be about 2%. Now, that is not individual transaction fees. So if you run somebody's credit card, it's very unlikely you're beneath or it's most likely you're going to be above 2%. There's sometimes you on an individual transaction you might be below, but a lot of times there's going to be fees you pay that offset that as far as a monthly fee or whatever that brings it up above 2. So 1.5 to 2%. I went ahead and rounded up to 2%. You're going to accept checks and cash, and that's going to drive your overall percentage lower. So even if you're paying a higher fee, your cash and your credit card, or your cash and your checks are going to dilute that figure down to closer to 2%. You might be below 2, but around 2. These are your gross expenses off of every job. Now there's one expense we're going to get to here in a bit that this does not list, and it's debatable as if it's a gross expense or not. It is. With junk removal, it's definitely a gross expense. It's something you have to factor in when setting your prices. But we're going to touch on that item in just a bit. So let's look at these direct costs right here. These are the direct costs. Once you get a job, this is what it's going to cost you to do. If you add all of that together, we're going to average some of these. Some of these say 5 to 7, we'll do it at 6, 8 to 11, we'll do it at 9, and so forth. It's going to come to 41% gross expense percentage. 41% gross expense percentage right there. So that means that when you are, let's say you're doing a job, your average job is about $350. Then 0.41 times 350 is $143.50. So you've got, let's just say $143. $143 gross expense per job. So that's going to put your profit your average gross profit per job at $206.50. That is gross profit, not net profit. Gross profit per job. So that's pretty good. You know, if you look at that, that's pretty good. That's going to be 59%, grossing 59% right there. So almost 60% gross profit margins. Now, this is the one expense that most people, or a lot of people, leave off of their gross expense percentages in junk removal. It's 100% incorrect, and I can tell you, us counting this one number and making sure our prices were high enough to accommodate this one number has been vital to the success to establish Junk Doctors as the premier provider of junk removal in North Carolina. Our sales are higher than anybody else throughout the state, and this is one of the main things we did. And what was that? It was, we always kept up with the cost of advertising, and we were willing to outspend just about everybody else. So one of the things that I always talk about is with advertising, when you first start this business, you can go in very aggressively. You can go in trying to gain market share, trying to get business, and really, if you can put off your profits, your current profits, then you're going to be set yourself up for a lot more success later on. So with advertising, we'd like to see in year one, your gross expense year one on advertising to be somewhere around, average around 25%. That's throughout the course of the year. When you first get started, the first few months, this is probably going to be closer to 30%. As you get some repeat customers, that'll drive your costs down a bit. So your first year will be average somewhere around 25% is what we would like to see your advertising be at. Minimum 15 or 20 in year one. I'd love to see it 25% because that's going to set you up for a lot better future. Year two, junk removal, advertising expense percentage to be about 20%. And then year three, about 15. So why does this come down? No, we don't recommend you decrease your advertising spending. If anything, increase it. You're making more money, spend more on advertising. So it's a lot easier to spend money on advertising when you got business than when you haven't. You've neglected spending advertising. You've been taking those short-term profits and you haven't been getting customers that leads to repeat business, referral business, and reviews. You kind of just go with the status quo. You get it up to a certain point, you keep riding along, you keep bringing out as much money as possible. Before you know it, you have a downturn. You no longer have the money to spend on advertising, and you're in a huge pickle. Spend advertising throughout. When times are good, that's when you really need to be spending money on advertising and getting as many customers in as you can, because when times go bad, that money might not be there to spend on that advertising. So your gross expense percentages, year one, if you add 41 and 25, you're at 66%. This is expense percentages. You add 41 to 20, you're at 60%. And you add 41 to 15, you are at 56% expense percentages. So that's going to put your profits for those years 34, 39, and 44% gross profit. So right here, Junk Doctors is stabilized. Our advertising expense is around 13, 14, 15% of how much money we bring in. We're at the bottom end of what we'd recommend. Very seldom do we want to drop below 15%. We've got a lot of great repeat customers that are bringing us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every month that has brought that percentage down. So, but we're at about 13, 14, 15%. So our average profits, gross profits, are around 45%, which puts your net profit for all three of these years. Year one, you're profiting about $119 per job. Year 2, 136 per job. And then year 3, $154 per job. That's what I'm talking about. When somebody gets on there and they say, all right, they're making 15% profits, they're only making if they do a $350 job, they're only making $50 or whatever. They're not seeing, he's counting gross. Somebody that says that is counting gross, not counting counting net. So our gross profit percentage is about 45%. So that's still, which is a very, very healthy profit percentage. Anything above that, you're probably not advertising as much. With advertising on something like our paper job program or any other method of advertising, door hanger flyers, whatever you found to be effective, include your Craigslist ads. With advertising, you are putting off today for a kick-ass tomorrow. Those of you that are being selfish in your junk removal business by not being patient, you are really hindering your future ability to make a great living and to have some freedom in your life. If you remember this last video, I talked about if I wanted to work 70, 80, or 80 hours a week, which a lot of weeks I work 70, 80 hours plus a week, but I can vary it. If I want to leave, I can. If I wanted to commit myself to 70 or 80 hours a week, every single week, no vacations at all, I wanted to do dispatch, I wanted to manage all the truck crews and be directly responsible for everything that occurs. Not be on the truck, but directly responsible for everything that occurs. The total amount of money that could be made, let's say I didn't have a business partner either, would be $586,000 off of the $2 million we do currently. So that's a great chunk of change. And if you want to go that route, great. The route I went is I'd rather decrease that by a few $100,000 and be able to have freedom and the ability to go where I want, do what I want to do, and start another business like Junk Removal Authority, where I'm trying to help everybody achieve this same level of success, maybe this level of money or greater. And that's what we're able to do with JRA. Please, hopefully we will follow this up with net expenses. So what are the expenses that we have in terms of percentages that bring a 45% gross profit down 30% to a 15% net profit? What expenses lead down to that? We're going to cover that. And some of them you could get rid of, but you remove redundancy in your business. Right now we could have somebody call out sick. In this case, we have 3 people that are out injured. We could have Christian could get sick, Luke could get sick, Aaron could get sick. We've got a list of people. These people could get sick, and we've got other people that can step in their place and take phone calls, book jobs, cover dispatch. You lose redundancy when you go after this. You make a crap ton of money, but you lose redundancy when you go after this. Now, and this figure right here, this is a little funky too, especially when you're growing, because in our case, you know, we were adding a truck or 2 a year. And we were paying cash for those vehicles too. The dump trucks we pay cash on. So I mean, you're figuring a $30,000 expense each truck. So we buy 2 trucks at $60K. Maybe we get a trailer and all like that. So there's other expenses that bring this down some. But that would be your profit before taxes, depreciation, all that kind of stuff. The potential you could earn between salary and profit. Again, guys, you need to make sure you are paying attention not only to gross but to net. You, as soon as you can, as soon as your business is profitable, you need to figure out everything you do, and as far as on the truck, any management task you do, whatever, and figure out what is my fair salary. If I was going to go out and hire somebody, what am I worth? If I was going to go out and hire somebody, what would I have to pay them to get somebody that could come in and do the job I do? So to full-time manage a junk removal company of, say, $1 million a year in sales, you're going to have to pay somebody probably at least, depending on your area of the country, anywhere from 60 to 90K per year to get a good job done. So that means on a $1 million a year company, you're probably worth somewhere between 60 to 90K. Now on a $500,000 company, ideally, you're still probably worth somewhere around that 60K. You're probably lower on the scale. You must always, 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 always pay yourself the same time your employees get paid, every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever it is. You need to have a paycheck. And that's going to tell you, and when you think of your profit percentage and how much profit you're making, you don't count your salary. Your salary doesn't count. What counts is the profit that's left over. If you go in to sell your business, your junk removal business, your junk hauling business, whatever business you're in, the value of your business is going to be a multiplier of your profit. So if you profit, it's generally 3 to 5% plus whatever the value of the assets you have. So let's say you profit $100,000 in a year, to keep this simple. You have a business that's worth somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 plus assets. Keep going right down the list. If you have a $300,000 profit, you've got a business that's worth somewhere between $900,000 to $1.5 million plus assets. Always build your business to sell, and you're going to have a lot of great success. Hey guys, give us a call, 919-617-1975. That is 919-617-1975. Visit us online at junkremovalauthority.com, junkra.com for those of you that don't want to spell out that long word. We're here for you. Give us a call. Hope this video was helpful to you, and we'll be back before you know it with another episode of Junk Removal Made Simple.